Everyone, welcome back to the channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about how journaling can completely transform your life. So I've been journaling regularly since 2012, and I've seen firsthand that by simply transferring my thoughts onto paper, my life is transformed. If you're in a position where you're unsure how to get started with journaling, or you're unsure about the impacts that it can have on your life, I'm here to tell you that it can absolutely change your life. So let's get into it. This video will be broken down into 3 parts. The first part will be about why journaling matters. The second part will be 3 different ways that you can journal. And then the last part will be actionable tips that can help you get started journaling. If you recall, on this channel, we're trying to design a life of purpose, and I'm constantly trying to give you actionable items that you can implement immediately so that you can start to transform your life. First and foremost, we spend a lot of time thinking, and I don't think we're actually aware of how much time we spend thinking these thoughts that are in our minds. Because we spend so much time thinking, we tend to take our thoughts very seriously. And because of this, this can lead to rumination, where our minds are just falling into a cycle and thinking the same things over and over and over again. What's kind of crazy is that we're not actually aware of our thought patterns. It's not until we take a step back to consider the thoughts that are passing through our minds that we get a better understanding of why we're thinking these thoughts. Even more importantly, once we develop an awareness of the thoughts that are entering our minds, then we can understand that these thoughts that we're having often influence our actions and our decisions. Once we understand that our thoughts influence our actions and our decisions, it then highlights the importance of examining those thoughts. This is where journaling comes in. Another reason why journaling is so important is because the act of transferring your thoughts onto paper brings clarity. You don't even need to do this in an organized way. It's the very act of transferring the thoughts that helps you to see what's been residing in there and to examine those things. I want you to imagine a little beaker. Let's say this beaker is filled with various types of sediments and rocks, or even various types of liquid. If you have this beaker filled with those things and it's just off to the side, you may not notice what's inside of it, or you may not even be curious about what's inside of it or how it ended up there. But if you pick up that beaker and you slowly start to pour it out, you begin to see what's been inside of it. You get to analyze what were the various contents that were inside of it, and you get to ask yourself, how did those things get inside of there and why are they there? This act of paying attention to what's residing inside the beaker, aka our minds, helps us to develop a sense of awareness. Get it from your mind onto paper through writing, and you can develop the skill where you bring clarity to your life and to your mind. Yet another reason why journaling is important is because it provides you a sense of direction in your life. This sense of direction allows you to align with yourself. And in addition to that, it also serves for record keeping of your life and the things that are happening inside of it. I'd like you to do something. I'd like you to compare your life, living it day to day, if you didn't journal at all. And I'd like you to compare it to a life where you're living day to day, but you're journaling consistently. What would those 2 different lives look like? What would be the main differences between those lives? And what would the trajectories of each life look like? I want you to think about the life where you're not journaling consistently. This goes back to the point about your thoughts and your actions and where they stem from. If you're not thinking about those thoughts, then you're making these decisions that are almost in a way subconscious and have no sense of direction. And then imagine the life where you are spending a lot of time with your thoughts and writing them down and reflecting on where they're coming from. If you spend the time to understand why they're in your head, you can make better informed decisions and take better informed actions. Imagine the difference. I would say that the life you live, where you're spending more time journaling and reflecting on your thoughts, would have a greater chance of a trajectory that leads you in a positive direction than a life where you're not really thinking about the thoughts and how they inform your decisions and your actions and potentially leading you in a bad trajectory. This once again highlights the importance of journaling. Part 2, the 3 types of journaling. So the first type of journaling that I want to share about is simply writing about what happened in your day or during an event that you experienced. When I first started journaling around 2012, I was doing exactly this. I was going on a couple trips. I was expanding my world and visiting different continents and seeing new things, and I was taking it all in, and I wanted to remember everything. So this was one of my first journals. When I took a trip to South Africa and Zambia, I had a mini internship with the companies One and Chegg for Good. It was an incredible experience, and I actually was cleaning out my room. I'm currently visiting my childhood home, and I came across it, and I started looking at the entries, and it was really interesting to read because it was literally just details about what I was experiencing during the day, places that I visited, people that I met, and inside it, I even have boarding passes from when I took the trip. I even included some pictures. So it was really about record keeping so that I could remember. And for me, it's really nice because It's now been 13 years since I took this trip. And although maybe some parts of that trip are fuzzy in my mind, I can just go back to this journal and remember details that I don't really remember today. This is a somewhat shallow form of journaling, but it's great for looking back on memories, especially as we get older. So there's nothing wrong with this. It's just one type of way to journal. The second type of journaling, and the one that I spend the most time doing, is writing your thoughts and your feelings down. Now, before I get into what that's like, I highly recommend this book called Green Lights by Matthew McConaughey. I was quite unsure what to expect when I first picked this up, but I was genuinely surprised and impressed by how insightful it was. The cool thing about this book is that Matthew McConaughey journals, and he's journaled for the majority of his life. He's had lots of crazy experiences, and one day he decided to travel to the middle of the woods, rent a cabin, go through all of his journals, and look for patterns, look for themes from his life. And that led to the creation of this book. And none of that obviously would have been possible if he didn't take the time throughout his life to journal and to document the experiences, but then also to be able to reflect and to look for the lessons that he had learned throughout his life. Highly recommend this book, and it was inspirational for me. I have been journaling for so long that I've collected a lot of journals over the years. I've actually never gone back on any of these journals. I love the process of transferring the thoughts down onto paper and then moving on from it. But one day I will do the same thing as Matthew McConaughey. I'll lock myself up in the middle of the desert or the woods, spend time with my journals, take notes on my journals, try to come up with some themes, and maybe I'll even write a book. Before I do that, I am writing my thoughts and my feelings in journal inserts. So I have a physical journal, but when I travel, I take out the insert so that I can save some space, and I only write in the insert. So I actually just wrote in this morning. I wrote 6 pages about some things that I've been experiencing and feeling, and I've been collecting lots of these. I have a countless amount of these inserts, and they provide the space for me to practice the habit of transferring whatever's on my mind onto paper and allowing me to reflect. In addition to reflection, journaling about your thoughts and your feelings like this is great for developing awareness and learning from your mistakes. The third type of journaling is writing about your goals and your plans. Now, if you're like me and you care about the direction of your life, how your life is evolving over time, this one is super important. You may have seen a video that I made recently, which I'll link here at the top, which is about the Book of Intentions, something that I named this journal, where at the beginning of every year, I write a list of intentions that I'd like to accomplish for that year. Although it's a very loose and informal and low stakes way of thinking about my year, it is related to goals and plans that I have for my life. It includes adventure, it includes things that I'd like to learn, it includes growth and development, it includes lots of different things. But it's a general overview of the goals and plans for my upcoming year. It's related to goals and plans from previous years, and then it carries me forward into the years to come. This is super crucial for me in my life because it helps to provide a sense of direction. It acts like a compass. And with that clarity, I can get a better sense of where my life is headed. So once you decide to start writing about your goals and your plans, you're going to come across various prompts. You may come across prompts like, what would you like people to say about you at your funeral? What does your ideal day or life look like? And if you were to die today, would you be content with the life that you lived? And if not, what could you do right now that would change that? Conveniently, I made a Google Doc of 15 different prompts, and they're all categorized to help you get started on this journey. Super simple, and I hope that it helps you as you begin to write about your life and to transfer your thoughts onto paper. That will be linked below. Part 3, actionable tips to get started. So the first and probably the most obvious tip is to actually get a journal, get a physical journal. I'm not against digital journaling, but a physical journal allows you to get your thoughts from your mind onto paper. And there's just something about that process and writing with a pen or a pencil and writing on actually paper and seeing it with your eyes and reading it with your eyes, that is just incredibly powerful. So get a journal. A few weeks ago, I was in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I was at an artisan market and ended up finding this cute little journal here. I love a good leather journal. I love the feel of the pages, the way they look. I met a nice woman. She hand makes these, And this journal had 2 inserts. It had lots of pages. I loved the size of it as well. When I bought it, actually, when I buy most journals, I'm not really sure what I'm going to write into them, but I know that eventually an idea will pop up and then I can start writing. And considering that I want to spend more time writing about goals and plans for my life, I think that's what this journal will be. I'll use some of the prompts that I included in the Google Doc that I've linked below. And every few days, whenever I have time, it doesn't really matter, I'm going to sit with one of these prompts and just write in this journal and think about the direction of my life, where it's headed, where I want to go. So, first step, get a journal. The second step is to actually look for prompts that will help you to get your mind going and to transfer everything that's inside your mind onto your journal. Look up to other gurus who talk about productivity and leading a life of purpose. Search on YouTube for prompts. There's so many places that you can look. But as I've already mentioned, I conveniently made a free Google Doc with 15 prompts to get you started. Feel free to download that, and hopefully it will get your mind going and inspire you. And the last actionable tip for you is to collaborate with AI. I absolutely love using AI as an assistant, both professionally and personally. Talk with it, ask for prompts, tell it that your goal is to improve journaling, your goal is to analyze your thoughts better, your goal is to get a better sense of direction in your life. Ask for prompts and then interact with it. Be more specific, go in a different direction, and then just start writing. It will be a quick, easy, and great way to get started and to form this habit of journaling. The platform doesn't really matter, to be honest. I tend to default to ChatGPT, but it's worked perfectly for me. And by now, I've interacted with it enough that I think it understands my line of thinking and the things that I like to do with my life. And so I'm going to stick with ChatGPT, but there's so many options. Whatever works for you, get those prompts and get writing. So that's the importance of journaling and how it can transform your life. We are just a couple weeks away from a new year, and what better time than to go get a journal, to get excited about a new habit, and to start writing so that you can transform your life. If any of this interests you, please consider subscribing or sharing it with a friend. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in next week's video.